This is the Better Dad Project podcast, a place for imperfect dads who want to do better and help each other along the way. All right. Hello, friends, and welcome to this first episode of the Better Dad Project podcast. My name is Brigham Iraheta, and it is my pleasure and my honor to be able to lead these discussions. If you feel like you're an imperfect dad, if you feel like you fall short sometimes, then you and I are in the same boat. Yet, at the same time, we both know that nothing is more important than being the absolute best dad that we can. And so we're going to get together, we're going to talk, and we're going to improve each other. We're going to make each other better. We're going to support each other, and we're going to learn from your experiences, from my experiences, and from everybody else. This community that I want to do is one that I hope it's impactful because dads matter. Dads matter, and if you are like me, I've done a lot of things in my life, and I continue to do a lot of things. I've been a corporate director, I've been an entrepreneur, and I've done well at those things. And yet I do know, and I'm absolutely conscious that all those things pale in comparison to the importance that it is to be a dad. I am okay failing in business. I'm okay failing in a career. I'm not okay failing as a dad. I can always build another career. I can always make more money. I can always go and start a different business. But to raise my kids the right way, I only get one chance. And day by day, just month by month, year by year, I'm running out of time. And so I want to do the best that I can. And I know that you do as well. So here we are. And I'm a little bit self-conscious. I'm going to be very honest with you. My family, my kids, here in my office, they can probably, it's my home office. So my family and my kids can probably hear me right now talking about being a good dad and talking about being a better dad when they, better than anybody else, know all of my shortcomings. They know all the places where I lack. But I find this necessary. I need to do it, not just because I believe it's important, but I'm absolutely positive that this will help me be more accountable. If I'm going to talk the talk, I got to walk the walk. I got to do as I preach. I know the reason is because I probably know a lot of you who will be watching this. Some of you I don't know. The ones that I do know, I've seen you being an amazing dad. And some of you, I know your dads, and I know you've had amazing dads. Some of you I don't know, meaning I don't know you personally. We've never met face to face, but I may have followed you on social media for a while. Maybe we've been connected through social media for quite a while. And I've seen the seriousness with which you take this stewardship of being a father. And I'm inspired by that. So I guess this is a way of saying and putting out an open invitation that when the time comes, I would love for this to become a community where we can have a conversation and we can chat and we can discuss some of those things, those principles and life lessons that we learned from our fathers or from our grandfathers, right? From both. And in some cases, maybe you were raised by a grandfather. That was your father figure. Maybe you grew up without a father, but there was somebody else that stepped in. And what lessons, what did you learn from that? At the same time, we all know, speaking quite transparently, that our parents had their shortcomings. So there are things that, just like we're going to pass on some things and we want to do the same things that our parents did, there are some things that we want to change. We want to break some cycles. And there's a lot of knowledge behind that. And there's nothing wrong with admitting that, yeah, there are some things that maybe our dads did that we weren't a big fan of. And we want to do different with our kids. Because not only, I think we'll find that some of those things we have in common, but it can help us to better recognize the blind spots, those areas where we think we're doing well, and we think that we got it covered, but in reality, we've gone the wrong direction. One of the scariest things, I think, when it comes to being a dad, a mom, just a parent in general, is that we don't know the answers until the end of the test. And what I mean by that is we can be doing the best that we think, right? The best that we can, and we can be doing really well according to what we know until our kids one day turn out to be, they grow up and become adults and they just go a completely different direction that we expected, and we say, what did we do? And sometimes the things that we did, and sometimes it's not. Everybody has their own free will, their free agency, and our kids will have to make their own choices. They'll make their own mistakes. They'll chart their own course. But we won't know what we did right and what we did wrong until the results come in, and that can be scary. That can be daunting. Um, I often think about how my kids, to this point, are a result of the way that I've been for the last few years. And when I see the way they react to certain situations or the way they carry themselves in others, I know, looking back, it's because I did this and I did that. And there are some things that I don't like. And it's not their fault. But I can go back and say, oh my gosh, you know what? When they were young, I would reprimand them for this, or I would be short in patience with this. So now they've created this habit that this is their coping mechanism, their way of defending themselves. If it was just like a defensive mechanism, and that's on me. And guess what? Now I know that. I wish I would have known it 6 years ago. If you keep doing this, your kids will develop these habits or these personalities. And so maybe that alone can be worth a good chat. Just that point right there can be worth this whole podcast. If we can not only save whatever time we have left with our kids, but if you have young ones, if you have babies, maybe we can then illuminate those blind spots for you. Anyways, I won't get too long-winded with that. But I do want to just one more time just recap really quick what this is going to be like and what my vision for this podcast is going to look like. So we'll have different topics. For example, what are some of the most important things that you can give your kids? And if I had you boil those down to 5 and you had to prioritize, the 5 most important things that you can give your kids, what are those? And I find often that it's challenging because we don't think about that. We always want to give them everything, and we want to give them a lot. But what would happen if you had to condense those things just to 5? How do you prioritize them? What are some of those things that are really not just the most important, but the critical things that you can give them? Anyways, that's just one example. And then we'll have a actionable item. For example, if one of the most important things that I believe you can give your kids, and remember that whatever we give, we receive. So one of the most important things that we can give our kids is trust. And I think we agree, as kids are growing and they're discovering the world and the good, the bad, the ugly, and they start to make decisions and choices on their own, trust becomes paramount. If I can't trust them with a phone, then I shouldn't give them a phone. If I can't trust them with a computer, they shouldn't be on the computer. So trust is very important. So that's one of the most important things that you can give them. And then after the discussion, we'll find an actionable item. So for example, and this is something that I learned from somebody else a long time ago, so I can't take credit for this, but this is the idea. If you only had 30 seconds to live, what would you tell your kids? What would be the most important thing that you can leave them with? That last piece of knowledge, or that, those last few words, what is it? And you'll find that in most cases, most of us haven't really thought about that. Like, what would I tell them? Do you know, or would you just wing it? We haven't really thought about what is the most important thing that we can leave them with. The last memory that they would have of us. What would it be? And so then the actionable item would be that this next week, we'll sit down and we'll really think about that. What is it? What holds so much value that will become the last few words they hear from you? And then we'll invite you to write it out, figure it out, write it out. And if you want to give it to them, give it to them. If you want to save it, save it. If you want to hide it and say, hey, if something happens to me, please give this to my family and my kids. Or, hey, this video here is, if something happens to me, whatever you want to do with it. But the thing is to have clarity behind that one thing that is so important to us that it would become the last memory. Then we'll go with the dad joke. Okay, we can never have too many of those. Especially if you have young kids, you can never have too many of those. I will tell you this: those dad jokes, get them out of the way quick, get them out of the way fast, because once they get to a certain point, even your kids don't think they're funny. there's a point where they're the most hilarious thing that they've heard, right? And that they'll ever hear. And they'll ask you to say it again, and when you say it, they'll laugh. And one day, you'll say that joke, and the eyes will just roll. Or it'll be a humor me type of laugh. Okay, so get them out of the way, don't feel bad. So we'll get a good repertoire going right here. And then we'll close, and that'll be the end of the episode. So anyways, I hope that you accompany me, and I hope that you at some point are willing and available to afford us some of that knowledge and some of those ideas, some of the things that you've experienced, some of the learnings, the wisdom of the ages. Those things that have been passed down to you, and that hold so much value that if you were able to, and if you had the chance, you would shout it from the mountains. So, anyways, friends, that's it for today. I said it was going to be short, and maybe I even went a little bit beyond what I was planning to. But I hope that you found some value, even in just this short few minutes, maybe some talking points with your kids or something to think about. But it is my pleasure. Again, my name is Brigham Iraheta. This is the Better Dad Podcast, or the Better Dad Project Podcast. So I thank you. I am honored that you have given me a few minutes of your time to come and listen to me and to be a part of this. So all I can say now is thanks, friends, and I'll see you next week.